So you see all the hate in the comments?
On which post?
That Hyundai versus Honda thing?
Up to you?
Mm-hmm.
Not to me, though.
I think I was referred to as the guy with the glasses. So I took my glasses off to really throw him a curveball.
Oh, there you go. Well, I should have put my glasses on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Then people would have questioned it.
I don't ever leave my house with my glasses on, though.
I understand.
Yeah. I don't really need them that bad.
I find it funny how people could be so adamant about making conversation or making comments about somebody being passionate in their comments about cars.
You don't see how?
No, I find it funny. I think it's ironic
Yeah.
that there could be people out there that were posting like that I'm overshadowing your opinion that the Hyundai is like a superior car than a Honda.
Oh, it's because they agree with me.
Yeah, okay. That's fair. That's fine. But like what I'm saying is their attack wasn't not their attack. That's the wrong word. their comment wasn't addressed at the car. Like I agree with Rich.
Yeah.
As you refer to as the Asian dude.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I'm glasses guy, you're Asian dude.
Between the two of us, that's the only way to separate us.
Well, now, but it's because I'm not wearing glasses, right?
Yeah.
But like, all right. So, but what I'm saying is like, it's funny to me that the comments will be so strong, like it's me.
Yeah.
Versus like because one guy wrote something like if the Asian dude said the sky is blue, the guy with the glasses would say no, it's not.
Right.
But like, it's funny to me that you could be so opinionated to make that comment, but the comment isn't addressed at the car thing.
No, you know what's also funny? I don't feel like we actually argue that much.
I don't.
Yeah,
think so.
I don't think we're actually arguing too much. I think we're just, I don't know, expressing two opinions.
Okay. I also think that there's a level of we're just old enough.
Yeah.
We're just different. You know, the difference in our age is just enough that our car opinions vary.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Without a doubt.
Like I tend to be a little bit more on the side of kind of, I guess now they're considered older school type things, but a little bit more of the purist, hardcore, stuck in my way. Well, pure, yeah. I mean, I think there's a level of purity that I have.
What line does that become elitist?
Ooh, that's a good question.
You know?
That's a good question. But here's the thing. And this is what I would say. I would say that I think that some of this comes from just from the intent, right? Like when I go to a car show, I don't nose down at people that have certain builds.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Like, and I think that that's how people took a lot of that comments when we talked about the Hyundai versus Honda.
Yeah.
I think Hyundai is doing a crazy good job.
Yeah, some people think that just by default you won't, recognize it.
Right.
Yeah.
But my point is that when you stack the cars side by side,
which is what we did.
Yep. If you ask me if I want to spend X amount of dollars on an Elantra N, or if I want to have a Civic Type R, I take the Civic Type R because there's a pedigree stance there.
Definitely.
Now, what I also think is, yes, you can just...
with other reasons, by the way. But yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're right. For the person that commented about a lot of cars have speakers in them, and I'm not knocking you because I use the ridiculous voice, but... but I don't want those cars either.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I understand what's going on. I just don't want it. I don't want it. I said this earlier, and I'm going to interrupt you because everybody said in the comments that I do, so I'm going to just do it again.
You weren't even interrupting me. I wasn't talking.
But here's the thing. We just said this before. If a automatic car has proven to be able to shift faster than any manual transmission car is capable of. We can develop an automatic transmission that's so good that it's way faster than anybody can humanly shift. But yet, a car enthusiast still wants a manual transmission.
Right.
Well, then there's something to that, right? Something to that tie of the car. Well, it's the same thing when we start comparing Civic Type R and a Elantra N, right? Like there's something to that pedigree of the car that makes me lean that way. Additionally, there's something to having an actual engine sound versus having a speaker that simulates an engine sound. Oh, listen, just because I feel super passionate about that doesn't mean these people have to agree.
How do you feel about enthusiast type of cars that are offered in both automatic and manual? And then what do you think it says about the person who chooses what over what?
You're going to put me on the spot.
Maybe.
I don't like this.
Like it's hard to say because there's a couple of really solid examples of cars out there that come with automatic versions and manual versions. And then there's other cars that only come with just the manual.
Oh, man.
That's a tough one, right?
No, the problem for me is it's not tough.
Okay.
The problem is I know exactly what I want to say, but I'm really, like, now I'm bordering on being rude. All right, stereotypically,
yep.
I'm gonna skirt around the answer a little bit, but
it's fine.
Stereotypically, if I see a car that I know is offered a manual and it's modified, and I walk up to the window and I look inside and it's the automatic one, I tend to go, yeah, that's a little...
It's kind of a shame.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah. Well, all right, so if you saw the same car completely stock and you walked over to it and it was the automatic, I think I would feel a little bit more like, okay, that makes sense.
Well, because it got to the right person.
Right. I think, yeah.
When I see a car enthusiast car and I feel like I see it in automatic, I feel a little disappointed, right? Is that fair?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, but that doesn't mean...
Evo 10 MR, that's a great example.
And Dowd and I have this conversation quite a bit because his...
GTI.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the Tiptronic one.
Yeah.
And
the DSG.
Right. I always razz him for it.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm like, oh,
but it's faster.
It can ship faster than anyone. Yeah, he's right. Anyhow, so the clown mobile that he drives, no, but so I always give him crap for the, well, it can ship faster. Yeah, of course it can.
Yeah.
This is the point.
Right.
And so I don't know. I get stuck on that a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean,
back to the Hyundai Honda thing. Like, is there some kind of level between, like, say, I don't know, people are gonna say I'm crazy, but like, say, similar cars or competitive cars to each other? If you took like a 370 or 350Z versus like a Genesis Coupe, is there a level of like, yeah, they're similar, but I'm just gonna always default to one over the other because of
pedigree?
I
mean, I think that depends on your type of person.
What about you?
Not always, because I can look at a car for what I think is there, and be fine with it because it's what I want. But like, I think let's go into the Genesis Coupe track. We have to go track model. We have to go the V6 one.
Okay, I'm pretty sure the 2.0 turbo has better tuning capabilities.
That's not why.
Okay.
Because if we're going to compare a 350Z or 370Z...
It's because they're both naturally aspirated. Okay, V6s. Got it.
So, all right. So let's say we take a Genesis Coupe, the 3.8 liter.
Yep.
Versus a 3.5 liter VQ.
Mm-hmm.
I'm disregarding a 3.7 liter, like in some of the 370s or the latter,
Yeah.
And so we compare these two cars. So on paper, Hyundai has... probably similar power, but it has a slightly bit more displacement.
Yep.
Has a 6-speed gearbox.
They did a lot of things right.
Yeah. Had a 6-speed gearbox. Had Brembos, because it was most of those cars were track cars.
Yep.
Had the options. Had sunroofs if you wanted them. The whole thing. Like, so I think on paper the car stacks up really, really well.
Yeah.
With a 350 or 370. I have driven both cars. I think you can make the Hyundai a really good car. I think the Hyundai is a pretty cool car out of the box for Hyundai.
Yeah.
But if you put the two side by side and you said, hey, knowing everything that the 370 or the 350 has wrong with it, and there's plenty of things, right? The car's not the best when you start modifying it as far as its cooling sense. Like you get into some of the in some of the later models, they were known to have certain crank issues, right? Like, so like, you know, as you build power. So when you start to stack these things up, but then comes this other piece, right? Which is that I personally think, one, the pedigree on the Z is way better. But two, I was just looking at what Max is putting up because I thought I saw a retail comparison. But anyhow, but like, what is that? What is it? Instant market value?
So 370s
hold, but the years are completely off.
Yeah, they hold their values.
So anyhow, so bottom line is, you know, so I think that when you start putting these things down on paper, I mean, there's definitely some.
They're really comparable. Look at that.
Very comparable.
Really comparable,
right?
On paper, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, it's just one of those things where, you know, I think that I still choose the Z, and I will tell you that
I would too. You know. And,
okay. Well, why?
Well,
because this is only because we're now into that window of you were really siding pretty heavily with the Hyundai on the last. Yeah. Honda versus Hyundai. But so let's hear about that.
I mean, the real simple reason is it fair to say just exterior wise and just styling. I like the way the Z looks better.
That's fair. But is there anything else that you could take from it?
I don't know. If you were looking for those cars, you're definitely gonna be able to find the Genesis for a better value. And I think that's.
You mean they're cheaper?
Yeah.
But why are they cheaper?
Because they're less desirable.
Okay, so you're saying,
and they're arguably, you know, I don't know, just not as good cars.
Well, whoa! That's it's an interesting point coming from you because you say Hyundai's doing really well with their come up, and I would agree that this is a really good neck and neck battle on paper specs, and also I think the car does hold itself.
I think something that they've done correct for the last maybe almost decade now or something like that, maybe a little less than that, but something they've done really well is that they give you what people generally want at a better price. You know, and it does just enough of like, no, this is totally comparable and the price is better. So I'm going to take essentially a really solid quote unquote like budget option.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they do, which is really strong behind them. But when you really come down to like maybe used market and you can maybe find a 370 in a Genesis coupe at the same price and comparable year, make, model, mileage, that type of stuff, like,
it's not the same.
It's not the same. Yeah, I don't know why. And I do know why.
Yes, you do.
I know. I do know why. But
why?
Because it's just it's cooler. It's cool.
There's a level of cooler. I also think that and now let's get into some things that people will fight with us in the comments for because we live for comments.
Right.
Not me, but listen, both of those cars I've been in, I can argue that Nissan doesn't do the best job with their interior, but I will say
they do a bad job with their interior. I would be
fair.
I'd be strong to say.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But I will say that the Genesis to me felt just as plasticky and not nice.
Yeah.
But it felt tinny in a different way. Like the 350Z to me always felt heavier. Now when I say heavier, it's the reason that I prefer for daily. I like to drive German cars comparatively to some of the import cars.
Yeah, I feel like that's a really like broad statement.
So let me refine it. So when I drive, let's say a GTI, comparatively to a Veloster N. Okay. You feel like that's fair wheelhouse to car? Why?
Personally, I don't. I think the Veloster is more of a car, a little more performance than GTI.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
So it works the opposite way for me.
Yeah.
Because I would rather drive the GTI.
Well, the GTI is gonna probably have more comfort features and.
No, I actually think it's the other way around.
No,
because if you for the same money in a German car, you typically get less features than you do in like an import car.
Yeah, but not a Hyundai.
I mean, I would think very much in Hyundai, maybe not in a Veloster N.
Yeah, well, in that car, it's a little bare bones.
Like, if you go get a base Jetta comparatively to, let's say, a base Civic.
Yep.
There's things in the Civic that clearly are nowhere to be found in the Jetta.
Right, like common sense engineering.
Well, all right.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, that was a good one. But what I mean is, like, the amount of creature comforts and features and options in the Civic are always going to be more than the base Jetta.
Okay.
They just are. They give you a better value. But I think that the Jetta drives way better because it has that German drive. It has that. It drives heavier. It drives more substantial. The doors close more substantially. Like it just does. Like is it my opinion? Yeah, it's my opinion. It's an opinion that I think I've shared with a lot of people that drive like different cars, and they seem to agree. Like there's just something about the build quality and the substantialness and the stand that I think is different.
I don't know. My buddy Quinn, you've met my buddy Quinn before.
Yeah.
He had a daily, which was like I don't know, something like a 2012 Jetta or something like that.
Okay.
And I'm not joking, and it's still this way to this day.
Yeah.
I remember putting a water bottle in his cup holder one day, and the thing fell through to the bottom of the car. The whole thing the cup holder fell through to the bottom of the car, and it was on the literal floor. And I was like, well, that just happened. He goes, what the heck was that? That thing just plasticky, just broke through. And
Okay,
I said,
that's fair. So I think I used the word...
I said, what a piece of junk.
I think I used the word build quality in the wrong place.
Yeah. Their cup holders aren't good, but it drives nice. Is that what we're getting at?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
It drives more substantially. It just does.
Yeah.
So, all right, another comparison. Every day I drive, especially since I got a fleet of kids and stuff, like I drive... Volkswagen Atlas.
Yep.
I have more of a base model Atlas. Not a lot of creature comforts. I don't have leather. I don't do that stuff. And whatever.
Okay.
But if I would have went and spent that same money in like one of the Tellurides or one of the
Pilots or Pathfinder.
No. I'm gonna go more to the Hyundai side for this.
Okay.
Or what's the Palisade?
Palisade. Yeah. Telluride is a.
Kia, but same family.
Yeah, Palisade.
So
it's the same car.
so I would have gotten way more options for the same money.
Oh, those cars are pretty luxurious inside.
But it's same money.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, you get more stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what I'm saying. But I choose to have the more stripper, Volkswagen because it drives heavier to
less
me.
bells and whistles, but just kind of stronger platform.
Right.
Yeah.
Boxy but good.
Yeah.
That. So there's that. I mean, listen, I acknowledge that people are going to have different car points of view, and I welcome it. I'm the guy that goes to a show, and if it's automotive or motorsport or has an engine in it, electric, whatever, like if it's a cool build, it's a cool build. Like I give them credit for it. I walk through. I appreciate everything automotive or anything that really moves under its some sort of motorized power, but if you're not a car person that has a really strong opinion about it, if you're not a car person that really thinks about these things when you buy a car or you want something really bad, but you just get it, then I struggle with that a little bit because then don't criticize me and my voice when I'm super passionate about something. Mm-hmm. Right?
You know what I think is a problem too? A lot of times in automotive and just from the manufacturer's side, I think there's a lot of times where people voice their opinions and they say, we want this. And sometimes they get it and then no one does it. No one wants it.
No, 100%. But that's what the people do with wheels.
Yeah.
How many times do you hear, if you guys made this in white,
yeah.
and then you make it, and then you've made it in white,
yeah.
and then it's like some sell, and you're like, where's everybody else that wanted white?
Right.
They out the chat.
Yeah.
They left.
Yeah.
They head out. Right? Like, so it's the nature of you want what you want because you can't have it.
Yeah.
But then you get it, and all of a sudden, I don't really need it. I wasn't really willing to buy it.
Yeah.
I just wanted it in theory.
Right.
Like, I just wanted the option for not whatever. I don't know. But this is what I think has killed a lot of cool cars before it.
Yeah.
Right? Think about the list of cars that were cool on paper or cool in real life that never lived on.
A handful of cars that I've owned. Definitely a handful of cars that I have owned. We don't have to get into the Veloster one right now because we've done that plenty of times.
I understand, but what about this? What about a Pontiac Solstice?
So I've said this before many times.
Okay.
The Pontiac Solstice or the Saturn Sky.
Okay. Yep.
Is a cool car.
Yeah,
it's a cool car. Yeah. I tell my friends, hey, because I got the Miata now, right. And me and my friends are a couple of my friends have Miatas as well. But
Yeah.
if you want that top-down convertible kick, I was like, dude, look for a Saturn Sky. I know you said Solstice, but it's the same car.
Same car.
But I said, look for a Saturn Sky. I think it looks better than
I
the
think the
Solstice.
Sky looks better.
Exactly. That's why I said that. So I think this. I mean, it's not very cool to drive a Saturn, but they have that red line edition from the Saturn Sky, which is the Pontiac Solstice like GXP or something.
Yep.
It's the same car, but it's like a 2.0 turbo convertible little roadster.
Yeah.
It's like a little pocket rocket.
Same thing with Solstice.
Yeah. It's the GXP model.
Yeah, I mean, like, listen, the car on paper made about 260 horsepower.
Yeah.
Was rear-wheel drive, was a sporty roadster.
Frankly, doesn't look that bad.
Doesn't look that bad.
Yeah.
Didn't get the play.
Why is that? Well, so I guess for a lot of these cars, you would have been a potential person that could be looking at this car when it was like fairly new, because that's not me.
We had one with GM.
Right.
When they first came out.
What I'm saying
they gave us one to build for. We built it for SEMA. We built it for SEMA.
When I look back at some of these cars, I never knew the hype. I never got to feel the new hype behind these cars because I wasn't a driver at the time.
Yeah.
Right. So like when this was new, what were you thinking? Did you think, oh, that's cool? Or do you think, what the hell is that?
I remember my thoughts exactly.
I'm so curious.
I remember thinking.
That commercial is really old, by the way.
I remember it just like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
So the Solstice I didn't really care for until it was modified because I thought the front end was weak.
Yeah,
it kind
me
of
too.
reminded me a little bit of like when they came out with like the PT Cruiser. Like cool-ish concept, but like who's gonna drive that?
Yeah.
It's kind of what I felt. Now when they revamped the car a little bit, because I think it was like the year or two later they came out with the Sky.
Yeah.
The Sky, it felt differently, and I remember thinking like, cool car, actually drove pretty well, but I remember thinking like, isn't ever going to sell, like it's never going to get a following.
Yeah.
Which it didn't, and it died.
You know what's funny? I kind of almost feel like some of the cars that, like the cool cars that never took off, like, like if you had a cool car and it just never got that kind of love, I think a lot of it stems to the manufacturer sometimes, because I could probably name you a handful of Hyundais and I would say Mazdas that I could say that never really got that momentum behind them. And I don't know if that's a coincidence or not, that they're coming from those two companies or something like that.
Like what?
So like Mazda Speed 6.
Well, I think the Speed 6 took off in a very Camry-ish way for that period. But there was a performance model.
No, the Mazda 6 is like a Camry. But then they had a Mazda Speed 6.
I'm sorry. I always forget that little word means so much.
It does. So the Speed 6 on paper is it's an Evo on paper.
I mean, that was a big freaking statement you just made.
It is though.
Well,
that's an all-wheel drive, 260 plus horsepower car back in like 2004 or 6 or something like that. In 2006, if you can get an all-wheel drive turbo, sedan with 260 horsepower, that's not like really cool.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean,
it was.
That car goes forgotten in the mix.
Yeah, but like, but why doesn't that car do well?
I'm gonna take I never drove one ever, and I actually don't even know anyone that has one. But I'm gonna go ahead and take the assumption that they probably just don't drive as well as maybe an STI or an Evo.
Yeah, I've been in one, but I haven't driven one, so that's just as useless as not being in one. I think the car is cool on paper, but I don't. There are some things that I think just get really tough when you start to build an Evo. There's a pedigree. Like you have to have for cars to be cool, there has to be this level of desire that's there, right?
Yeah.
And not just from the cars you want. You also have to have that that level of desire from other people, because and I don't care what anybody says, for you to have a cool car and drive around and feel good about it, that's fine. That's doable. You can do that. That's the same reason that I'll pick up a lot of crappy cars.
It's a great example, by the way, too, the RX-8. That's a great example.
But I'll pick up a lot of cars that people would deem as crap. And when I say people would deem, I usually refer to this as my wife. When she doesn't understand why I drive a car, I usually know I'm onto something. But like a Galant VR4. She
Yeah.
doesn't understand why I love those cars so
I don't
much.
understand why you like a Galant GR4.
Okay, but I love Galant GR4s. Love them.
To
me,
I can't tell you the last time.
That was an Evo.
I know. I can't tell you the last time I even saw a Galant on the road.
But I know that the non VR4 models of that Galant were pieces of crap.
Yeah.
Now, arguably, the Galant VR4 was a piece of crap, but it was a piece of crap that I liked, and I could drive that car around and feel totally confident about myself, regardless of whether I knew anybody knew what that car was cool with or not.
Yeah. I feel that way about certain cars, but yeah, I don't know enough about this car. I guess feel that.
Understand?
Yeah.
But remember, I was a DSM guy.
I know.
So this is like.
Did you also like a Mitsubishi, like a what was the big sedan that they had? It came with a V8, old one, Diamante. Is that a car?
That's not, it wasn't. It was a 6. And, no, I didn't like a Diamante.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow, my memory is good sometimes.
But anyhow, so I could like that car and not need anybody's. But I'll argue that a lot of people, what makes the car even better for them, that also makes the desire of the car and the retail higher, is the fact that they have this silent approval, right? When you drive an Evo, people don't look at that Evo as a car that's 20 years old.
No,
They see it and they go, oh, that's awesome.
It's true.
Unless they're like your parent or your grandmother or something like that, they don't understand. They're like, who cares?
That's an old car. That's
Right?
an old whatever car.
But anybody in our demographic or our wheelhouse is going to see that, and you know that even if let's say you weren't into cars at all, you don't know anything about cars, and you're standing on the corner, and I drive by with my Evo. Even if you really in actuality don't know what that car is and look at it as an old car,
It'll stand out more. It'll catch your attention.
Well, I was thinking more like, I still think in my mind that you definitely know what this car is, and because of that, I have this artificial sense of like confidence. So
that's interesting.
Well,
I don't know if I think that.
Well, but here's the thing. I'm going to go out on a limb and say the majority of people that drive cars modified, especially if they don't modify them themselves. Now, this is a big statement. I know I'm making it. I'm just throwing it out there.
Okay.
They do it for the influence it will have on other people. They do it because here's the thing. This is how I usually think about it. If there was nobody in the world, just you and this car, would you still modify it, or would it not matter to you because there's no one else to impress?
Easy answer for me. If you're asking me, actually, it would be yes, I still would.
Right.
But
me too.
Yeah, I mean that's super. So actually, this is really funny. So my Miata, right?
Yep.
Do you know what my Miata is? It's one thing only. It's an old guy magnet. That's what that Miata is.
Well, congratulations.
My Miata only gets the attention of old guys.
Yeah.
Like every time I take that thing out, you get some old guy flashing his lights at me, thumbs up or whatever it may be. It gets so much attention in that sense. You know what's the number one thing I hate about that Miata? Is all the attention it brings.
From the old guys.
Or just, yeah, I guess. But like,
because you said that's the only people.
Right, yeah. So, but the attention that it brings is like the thing I hate the most about it.
So you are tired of getting hit on by old men.
No, I don't get.
Can I just say? Can I share one thing?
Sure.
This reminds me of one of my most pivotal mistakes that I've made in my life. I once bought a shirt that said "Free Bear Hugs" on it.
Oh no!
It was a Riot Society T-shirt.
Okay.
And it had a sign of these three grizzly bears wearing like a bandana.
You didn't know what that was going
to
to bring.
Said, "Free Bear Hugs," and I figured this shirt. I love this shirt, and that's it.
That's a great shirt.
Thank you. Here's the problem with that shirt. That shirt only got me hugged by nothing but dudes. That was my pivotal downfall. I suspected that shirt at the very least was going to get hugs from. It was going to be an equally opportunity provider on hugs, and I was going to get hugs from both men and women, maybe at the very best.
Yeah.
But it turned out that was not the case.
Well,
not one female hug came from that shirt.
I get it. I wasn't saying that I'm also trying to drive my Miata to get the attention of women. That's not what it is. First of all,
right.
Yeah. So, but what I'm trying to say is that, like, I like to drive my car because I like to drive my car.
Me too.
And I don't actually, if there was no one around, I would be probably happier driving my car.
Me too.
But you're saying that other people might modify their cars or whatever, like you said, for the influence that it gives off to other people.
Well,
and that's just so not me.
I'm not saying it was you.
I know.
What I'm saying, though, is that I think, and again, I think this is just about being self-aware. I think that there's a lot of people out there that the reason that they want a BMW isn't because they want the driving experience of BMW. It's because they want to pull up. It's because everybody knows what BMW is.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that for everybody.
Right. No, yeah, they want what is it? Yeah, that's my car. Look at that. That's my car.
And look who's in it.
Yeah, the straight pipes. But
that's not with everybody. I acknowledge that. I'm just saying to you that I think that, you can get into an Evo and drive up the block if you know that people, a lot of the people that your demographic, the people that are important to you, they're influence, like they know what the Evo is and it means something. You can get into your car with more confidence than if you got into, let's say, the same year Toyota Camry.
Yeah.
And drive up the block.
Absolutely. That's without a doubt.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
What I think is funny too is that, like, speaking of like certain cars that like just never got the love, and I was saying that I could think of a handful from Mazda, and now that Max put that up, even my car, I have a Mazda Speed Miata.
Yep.
And I also have
You're a Mazda man right now.
I'm a Mazda man right now, so I also have a 07 Speed 3.
Right.
And
speed. That's the important word on both of your cars.
Yeah, it is. And for people to know about the Miata, it comes stock with a turbo, so it's the only factory turbo Miata ever made. But everyone always wanted the turbo.
You take such pride when you say that.
No, it's cool though. I mean,
know,
it is what it is. But everyone talked about how they wanted a turbo Miata, especially on the ND.
Right.
And like there was other cars out there that basically gave you that, like the Roadster from Fiat.
Well, there's another car that didn't really do as well.
So like that's a great example though, because that's a car.
The 124.
Yes, the Spider or Barth or whatever it is that
The 124. That was a 1.4 liter turbo car.
Yes. So that car is a turbo little Roadster and is essentially like a what people wanted for the ND Miata, but
Right.
No one opted for the Fiat.
Well, but right.
And frankly, I actually think it's a really good car. It's a really nice looking car.
Well, but it's based on the ND platform.
That's a cool looking car.
Yeah. I like the rear. I struggle.
The rear looks Jaguarish to me. Actually, the whole car looks Jaguarish.
Well,
to
I
me.
mean, look, it's a Fiat.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, so I think it captures that Fiatness. But here's the thing: it's
think it's a
built on
good-looking
an ND platform. It just has a different power train.
Right.
Right.
So why don't the people who complained about the blah blah blah, I want the turbo Miata, why didn't they go there?
Well, so I think a lot of people are going to voice their opinion that they believe it had to do with the price tag, and they're going to go to MSRPs.
I don't know what the price tag is.
Well, it would have been more than the at least base ND Miata. Now we're not talking about the RF or anything like that, but here's where it gets a little bit more complicated. Is that those cars got really cheap when they couldn't sell, but you still couldn't really sell them. So that car is a 1.4 liter turbo engine, the 124
rear drive Roadster. How cool is that?
The ND Miata was a 2.0
Naturally aspirated. Yeah.
And so, it's just one of those things. I mean, why didn't that car do well, and why does the Miata do well?
Well, that's tough. The Miata's the best selling sports car of all time, yeah?
But what I'm saying is, like, why does the ND Miata do better than, let's say, the Fiat 124?
The real answer, I think, is just because it's a cult car. The Miata's a cult car.
So you say now that pedigree really does change that.
Does.
Right.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. I think that goes back to our Hyundai and Honda debate.
It does.
Quite a bit.
I think that's a shame, though.
But listen, don't you think that people buy cars, and a lot of the reasons they buy cars... Now, I'm not talking about people that buy cars for their daily driver. I'm talking about the people that buy cars the same way you bought your Mazda Speed 3, and the same reason you bought your Mazda Speed Miata, MX-5.
Yep.
Don't you think you buy some of that with a lot of nostalgia in mind?
Yeah. Well, the Speed 3 for me was totally nostalgia, but And that's like the car that started all for me, and
Right.
made me love the hot hatchbacks and all that stuff.
Okay.
Totally nostalgic for
Yeah.
me. And then the Miata, I don't even know how that happened.
I know how it happened. You
I don't
you
even
figured
know.
you saw a post and there was just nothing but old dudes around this car, and you said,
I want that.
"I want,
No,
I
But-
want that.
but
I want that. Give me that."
I don't know. I'm doing this whole 2-car thing right now for the first time, and I don't know if that's going to turn back into a 1-car thing anytime soon.
I like the 2-car thing,
Yeah,
but I don't think you're gonna like it.
it's okay. I'm living it right now. It's cool.
The reason I don't think you're going to like it isn't because of the stuff that I think are pros. The pros that I think you'll appreciate about having 2 cars are the fact that, hey, listen, changing up your driving experience from here to there is a refreshing thing.
Yeah,
You know
it
what I
is.
mean? It keeps you from getting less bored with one platform because you could drive this for a little bit and then hop over here and you
Totally.
appreciate this one a little bit, whatever. So I think that there's that. That part I think you'll like. The part that I think you won't like is the fact that you have this car that you're going to drive in select times, and you're going to feel like the other times it just kind of sits there and doesn't do anything, and you're paying for it.
Yeah.
And you're going to get to a point where you, in majority of what I've witnessed from knowing you,
Right. I don't. Oh, go on.
is that you like to have the cool daily driver.
I do.
And not that the Mazda Speed...
Like you,
3
you driving the Atlas is. Like, I don't have a family. Like I don't have kids like that yet. But
kills you.
it kills me. You're right.
I understand.
It does.
And if I would
And
go back...
I almost can't get. I don't get it.
I understand.
But I do get it. Obviously, because I'm not. I'm not being. Crazy over
but
here.
I understand.
Yeah.
If you would give me a thing of like everything I would like to drive every day,
Yeah.
like, and you take away the kids. Sorry, guys. Like I'm totally a guy that would probably want to drive an M3 every day.
Yeah. Wow. It's very, very New York of you.
Well, but not for the BMW.
I know, but
because
it's just the way.
Oh, let me give you another
It's
one.
tainted.
How about I would be good with an RS3.
I'd
be good.
Cool.
I'd be cool. Like, I mean, ideally, I'd love to have an RS6.
Oh, R6 is so
Now,
cool.
with that said, if you ask me the cars that I want to drive on the weekend,
Yeah.
they're 90s Japanese sports cars.
Yeah.
I don't get me wrong. You throw a GT3, GT2 RS in there, like I'm super happy.
Yeah.
Right? Like if I could drive that on the weekends.
Corvette.
Like I could right. I like the occasional Z06. I think that one of the things that's kept me from getting a Z06 to this point, the C6, because I like C6 Z06, is just the fact that I feel like I would like it.
I think you could rock a Corvette pretty good.
Oh, I definitely think.
Yeah.
I got the tummy for it.
Come on.
I think that like I'm getting into enough of the Adidas, flow here, where it's enough of a dad shoe.
Okay.
I'm starting to learn how to rock a baseball cap.
That's
again.
what I was good. I was just about to say you have to rock the dad cap.
I don't do super short shorts.
No.
So
Oh yeah, that's definitely a Corvette thing.
right.
Yeah.
And I don't think I could bring myself to New Balances. Although I hear people say they're coming back.
currently on the feet.
I know. I saw that.
Yeah.
So, but the thing about the Corvette is like I think it's a lot of fun. I don't know, like if you ask me if I could drive my 350Z every day of the week, the answer is yes. I could. I just love the car.
Wish you would.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
But I love the car.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get out of that car and like say like I didn't enjoy the drive. I love the car.
Right.
It's everything that I like about 90s Japanese sports cars. It's the perfect balance between, I mean, maybe it's a little bit more on the digital side than the analog side, but between the analog and digital feel. I love that. That's why I like 90s Japanese sports cars. Still feels raw enough, but it has just a little bit of hint of, hey, we're going into the digital age. You know what I mean?
That's, yeah, I get it. I don't know. I guess I just don't have such strong opinions like that. Like, I think I just realized about myself as a car guy. Like, what I really, like, the number one thing I love about cars more than anything else is just driving them. Like, and
Okay.
I really like to experience new cars because I was also a valet driver for a little bit. For, 1 year of my life, I was a valet driver.
Right.
And I love that so much because I got to drive so many different cars.
Yeah, but only for like 150 feet to park them,
But
right?
like, I don't know how to explain it to you, but like that was like enough for me sometimes. Like I was
Okay.
like, this is really cool. And I came back with a giant list of cars. Like I drove all these cars, and
But you didn't drive them. You drove them, but you didn't drive them.
how do you picture a valet? Well, do you picture?
Are you saying that you took every car out down a home stretch and like really wailed on it?
Well, do you think it's like just like a restaurant or catering hall where you hop out and you just park it 10 feet over there?
I guess my mind was thinking that.
A lot of the times as a valet, you would have to drive it to like a lot down the street, which is maybe like half a mile away.
Okay.
And then you take a shuttle bus back to the location.
No way.
Yes, you
the
do.
valets?
Yes, you do.
Get out.
I've done that so many times.
What?
Yes.
These are like off-site catering jobs?
On Long Island. I can name you places that you would be familiar with that I valeted at, and sometimes you have to park the cars because it's such a big event. You have to park them elsewhere in a different lot, and then you have to hop on a shuttle that your company arranges that takes all the valets back to the location.
So when you say shuttle, are you talking about more like a golf cart? That's
no, it's a
running
bus.
back?
Full bus.
What?
Yeah, that's real.
This feels crazy.
So I drove some cool cars for distances like that, and then obviously less. I've done the very short ones where you just park it, around the corner.
Yeah.
But in that sense, I've got a chance to drive a lot of different cars. Now I think that's like where a lot of my love came for it. Of like, and also probably the reasons why I have issues why I can't keep a car for more than a year, because I love to just always try different cars.
And I have the other thing.
Yeah.
Which is I tend to cling on, like I tend to really want a specific car, and then I get it, and I never to let it go.
Yeah, I haven't been there yet, which is crazy. I don't know. We're just very different in that sense.
When I modify a car, my whole agenda with modifying a car is the fact that I want to make it the best that it can be, so that I can enjoy it at that best level. But when I get it there, I don't want to sell it.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I've done it.
Do you think you've enjoyed the fullest of your Z?
I don't think I've enjoyed the fullest of the Z, because the truth is I really have never tracked that car. And I think that would change the level for me. But you know what the problem for me is that I think, and you'll hear these people say this all the time. Well, if you don't, what's the point of having a car if you don't drive it? And I understand it and I get it. But something, when I put all this effort and work into something like that, the idea of then taking it and then, like when, on this car where I didn't mean it to be a race car. Like if I'm going to go racing, I want to build a race car so that I don't ever feel like when I'm putting it out there on the track, I'm kind of pussyfooting around it because I don't want to do anything bad to the car. And like, and I did that from a place when I used to drag race a lot. Like I had a distinct car. And if anything ever happened to the car, would I have been disappointed? Yeah. But like, I would have been able to walk away from it with the thought of, well, that's why I built the car. And the Z, I never built the car for that. I just built it to be a really good road car.
Right.
And it is. It's a really great road car. So I tend to struggle putting it on the track. I tend to almost think like, well, if I was going to do a 350 on the track, I would just buy another 350 and then make it into a race car.
That's interesting.
It's just different points of view, right?
I mean, it's having set objectives for that car. It's, yeah.
So I guess I built a lot of cars over my time. So I guess I've kind of had different things where, like every car I used to have a solid prerequisite. Rip out the AC, I used to keep power steering because it was kind of like
we like that.
We like that. Rip out the AC, take out all the interior you didn't need, like strip the thing down, like get rid of all the creature cover, cruise control, peace out. You know what I mean? Like all the things you didn't need. Make the engine bay look like it had way more room in it. Make everything easier to come on and off the car. And then after a while, I was like, well, yeah, but I'm the one sweating in traffic. I'm the one with this clutch that's so heavy that like I get Charlie horses on when I'm driving.
My left leg is bigger than my right leg.
Yeah,
right.
So there's that. But like I don't know. Like it's just one of those things. There was a lot of cool cars that never got the love that I think people missed out on enjoying. And, like for me, like when I think about those cars, like, we just talked about some of the Mazda stuff, but what about the Starion Conquest?
I don't know anything about that car, Scott.
So those cars, to me, on paper, were a cool car. In real life, right in that midst of the Celica and all that stuff, right in the midst of that thing, they were kind of
was that a front-wheel drive car?
No, it was a rear-wheel drive car.
Oh, wow.
But they were kind of an S show.
This is what you're talking about? This body style?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, you never see that.
That one looks a little weird to me. I don't know what's up with that.
An 83?
No, you gotta
it's
go
a little later, right?
Yeah, well, because that's too early. We gotta go one more up. You'll tell because it has the fender flares. Click on that one. Yep, that should do it. So the Conquest and
Chrysler Conquest. I never even heard of that.
Well, so it wasn't really. Yeah, well, I guess it was Chrysler at that point, but it was like the Plymouth Conquest, I believe it was. So this is still not the right one, though. This is too early. The car gets wider. Like, this is the generation we're talking about. What is this? This is got to be the late 80s.
Oh, the smoking tire.
Yeah, but see look, the car can't, see those fenders and the quarters?
It looks like a Firebird front end or something.
No, come on, man. Listen, look at those wheels. Look at the fenders. This car was sick.
Yeah, it has a late 80s vibe to it.
And it's great. My favorite thing.
Oh, the rear windshield looks like, what Porsche is that?
What, like a 944?
Something like that. That has that same shape rear windshield that kind of like, I feel like I'll never be able to replace that class.
That car, 944.
Yeah.
So here's the thing about it, though, is that
yeah, similar.
This car to me was like, when you think about those
are cool wheels.
like second third gen or Mark III Supras, like right in that era, right?
Yep.
Yeah, look, you got those wheels. Look at the concavity that they pulled off. Look at the body lines. The door sucks in, fenders and quarters are out. These were cool cars. And they had an inline 6 turbo engine that came from the factory. Rear-wheel drive.
What other car did that engine share with?
I don't think anything.
Wow.
The engine was okay.
Oh. Well, you hear inline 6 turbo, like what comes to most people's heads.
Of course.
Yeah, like all, the two greats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also think that there's some other cars in there that maybe don't get the love, which is that, how about, which one? Just lost my stupid train of thought. Like something like a Grand National.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, that never crosses my mind.
I'm just saying the 6-cylinder turbo thing.
I know people love that.
Yeah. So you had some other, really cool, but yeah, inline. Yeah, you got Supras. You got you have 1JZ, 2JZ. You have
RB.
Yep.
I read a thing on how people were saying that the last V8 sedan is going to be the Chrysler 300. It's going to be the last one. Once it goes, it's the final V8 sedan.
Yeah,
I don't see another car, whatever. I think of Chevy SS.
Okay.
Now that car.
It's got an LS3 in it. It's a Corvette engine, isn't it?
I think so. Well, it's a rear-wheel drive V8, and it came
Same thing with the GTO.
And it came with a manual. I mean, like,
what about the GTO?
Or the GTO?
GTO was, again, I just think.
Or what's the top one? G8, G8, whatever it is. But that car, the Chevy SS, like that is like the old, like what does it say? Does it say stealth tire shredder? Well, that's like the ultimate sleeper car.
And the problem for me with these cars are these are the cars that I want to find that somebody drove. Now it's $5,000, and they're like it's already.
These are really expensive still.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is like, I want to find these cars. It's like the same thing as people back in the day. They used to buy the Police Interceptor Crown Vic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I want to find it's like that, but I don't. There's nothing about that car for me that wants to go out and get that car.
Wow, that's like it's crazy to me because that's like an OG CT4 Blackwing. Like.
Okay.
Like that's what the Blackwing came from.
I'm not even disagreeing that the car is powerful and cool and whatever. I'm just saying, like, to me, I pull up and it's still just an Impala.
Wow.
No, but I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying for me, it's just not there.
I mean, it's clear why no one bought these things,
I understand.
It's just, it's a shame though, because the manufacturers, made them.
Well, and the Starion
cool.
and the Conquest, like I wonder what they would look like if they would have been modernized, as they went forward. But the problem is they really didn't sell. I will tell you that when those cars really came out, they were plagued with electrical issues. And honestly, look, Mitsubishi wasn't really known for putting out the best quality car. I know because I firsthand played with a lot of them.
Yeah.
But the best thing to do with those cars is like what my friend Dave did, where you basically U4G63 swap
all of them.
The Conquest and the thing, and then all of a sudden, you put it to a different type of transmission. more lately, you'll see people, if they get them, they'll do like CDO 09s, like the 350Z modified. 350Z more revised transmission. But back then, people used to do a load of different transmissions. A bunch of American stuff. Whether it be, now I'm just lost my train of thought. There was a lot of transmissions, but and then more in right after that, they also used to do like the R154s,
Okay.
which weren't inherently strong, but they were they've at least made it to a similar type of power, So I don't know. There's certainly been a handful of cars that just didn't get a crazy amount of love. I mean, even thinking about like back, like 2010 when Honda came to us and they said, "Hey, we're putting out this car, Honda CRZ."
Oh yeah.
They're like, it's gonna be like the follow up as a CRX.
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah. They're like, you want to take one of these and modify it for SEMA? We're like, yeah. And they're
Yeah.
like, it's hybrid. And we're like, oh.
What?
And then they're like, we want you to emphasize how green it is. And I'm like, whoa. But my favorite CRZ that was built at SEMA that year was the ones where they ripped out the power plants and put in like K swaps and stuff.
With this car, I think it's crazy that no one really. I don't know if people talk about it or whatever it is, but I'm pretty sure that to date, this is the only manual hybrid car to ever exist, right?
No.
Manual transmission hybrid car?
Hybrid?
It's a manual transmission hybrid car.
Yeah, but I don't think hybrid.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, I think about like, wasn't a Tesla Roadster manual at the time?
No.
The first one?
No.
Right? First one?
No. That thing was what? A sub 2-second manual car?
No, we're talking about. Maybe we're talking about the wrong car.
The old Tesla Roadster was the little.
Like 2008 model?
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. But I don't think it was manual. But I'm pretty sure the CRZ is the only manual hybrid car ever to exist.
I mean, you may be right.
Yeah.
I can't say I've ever really thought to look that fact up.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm surprised that in this world of going towards EV stuff and hybrid stuff, whatever, I'm surprised that never took off more with enthusiasts.
Well,
think about all the California people that can benefit from that.
Yeah, I think the hard part with those cars, I mean, I remember getting my hands on one, and the thing that frightened me the most was it looked like a Honda under the hood.
Yeah.
But then there was like this big piece that had these big orange cables running to it, like right between like where the transmission and the engine were.
Mm-hmm.
And like I was like, oh well, what do you do with that?
Man, well, I mean, it's kind of no question why that car didn't take off, right? It was kind of like a weird, impractical sports car, but not. And like
they were trying to rehash the CRX. I mean, I think you get that car and you, I think if you get that car, oh yeah, he's right. Yeah, that was automatic. I for some reason thought it was. Anyhow, doesn't matter.
That thing looks like a Lotus.
Definitely looks like a Lotus.
Oh, you know what's a cool car I never took off? But now people really give it the credit for mainly just the sound, but that Lexus LFA?
Well, but did you ever hear the story that Lexus put out on that car?
No.
That car was always supposed to be a loss leader.
Okay.
From what I understand, they knew when they put that car up for sale that they were always going to lose money on every one that they sold. And they did it for more of a branding element than anything else. Their idea was never that they thought they were going to sell enough cars to make a profit with it. Was more or less that they were putting it out there to keep the brand at a relevant stage and to be able to show people like what Lexus engineering was all about.
Right.
From what I understand, I could be wrong.
I know most people look back at this car as one, maybe the coolest car Lexus ever made, and two, one of the best sounding cars of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but that's a car that in terms of sports cars or hypercars or supercars or whatever you want to call it, I don't think this thing ever took off ever.
Right. I mean, listen, there's been a fair of cars that didn't take off that had some interesting concepts. Things like the Subaru Baja.
Oh, yeah.
That one you could potentially get with a turbo engine.
Yeah.
And right? An EG25, a WRX EG25.
With a manual transmission.
No, EG25. It would have been like the STI.
Yeah.
The early STI type platform.
Yeah, it's
right?
a 2.5 turbo.
But
There you go.
that was I know it's got a cult following. I know there's people out there, including someone that have worked here, that love that car.
Hey.
I can understand why people love that car.
Uh-huh.
I personally don't love that car. I have this thing. I don't think I would have been a good El Camino guy back in the day.
No. Well, I actually think the Baja is really cool.
You should own one.
Hey, listen, I'm telling you, if I can get my hands on a turbo manual, I'd buy one. A good condition turbo manual, I think I would definitely buy one of those. I don't know. It's a really unique little car, and I think there's a cool aspect about it. I don't know if I would slam it and put it on wheels like that, but that you know why this car never took off. It's because it no one knows what the heck it is.
Is it a bird? Is it a plane?
Right. It's a total.
It's a Baja.
I guess in general it's a mess, but that's
It's a mess.
that's a New York license plate, yeah.
That's Jared's car.
Is it? This is actually Jared's car?
Well, it was.
Oh wow.
It was back in the day.
That's
So
cool.
it's gone now.
Oh. Well, since it doesn't really know what it's supposed to be, is what kind of led to it.
It suffered from identity issues.
I guess you could say that. Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
So would you say it's a they or an it?
Yeah, either one.
I understand.
Yeah, either or whatever wants
Just want
to.
to make sure we're using the right pronouns around here.
Yes, I know. But yeah, so I mean, that's a good example of a car that never took off. But you know what? But what it results in is a cult following.
Okay, but a niche cult following.
Totally niche. But there are guys out there that love the Subaru Baja. They They love it.
Why do you think that some of these cars that are so paper stacked up, maybe even drove pretty good in real life, why do you think that they suffered? If you had to put one, like we each pick one thing to close this thing out, why we think cars like this suffer and never live on? Why is that? What do you think yours is?
People talk the smack, but they always default to the black and white option.
It's a good thing. I guess mine borders on it. And I think it comes down to pedigree. I think either manufacturers and, people or like people get on the bandwagon super early on in a car's life and they develop a following where the car gains popularity and that popularity continues to exist, or they try to push it out. I would argue that the reason that I think that some of the Genesis and Genesis Coupes didn't do as well as they did was because when they put them at these dealerships, these Hyundai salespeople treated it like they were doing you a favor by selling that car. You'd go in, unbelievable premiums on the cars. Then you would finally get one. Then they would, they wouldn't deal. And I think at some point, like, you got to get those cars out there, and they have to get into people's hands, and they have to modify them, and they have to feel like there's enough of a following there.
So instead of the dealerships being like, "Hey, listen, this is the bee's knees," they should have been more like, "Buy this." Just everyone here.
In my opinion,
like there should be more incentive to buy it. I guess, and that would have done it.
Yeah, first couple of years, I think if the manufacturers would have come out with a higher incentive and a better way to crack down on dealers putting out crazy premiums on them, I think you would have potentially had a thing where they would have sold more cars, and if they would have sold more cars, they would have had more following, and that
was kind of Scion's whole thing, right?
Well, Scion's thing was building an affordable car for that youth demographic,
right? And
they poured hard into that, and for the years that Scion was around,
they were around.
They slayed.
Yeah, I would say so. You see Scions everywhere.
Yeah,
and
they threw the best SEMA parties.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because they pumped corporate money into that baby. And they did it with nothing in mind. Like, there was no hidden agenda. It was just like, hey, come to our Scion party.
Yeah, I think the Scions had some good potential. I don't know. I mean, that's what stemmed the FRS, which is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyhow, that's our thoughts. Let us know what you think about, some cars that maybe were cool but didn't make the mark and never stayed around for longevity. And if you have some other comments, and I took my glasses off today, but you can still refer to me as Glasses Guy. If you would like to knock us in the comments, we're more than welcome to hear what you have to say. Just come with an opinion and not a criticism. Don't come with a hate. Come with the goods.
Passion.
Come with the goods.
Goods.
Yeah. We'll catch you on the next one.